Greetings! My name is Mark Cruz. I'm an IT technician from Eagle River, Alaska, and I'm here today to celebrate getting my first Microsoft certification. It's known as the AZ-900 Azure Fundamentals, and it's Microsoft's introductory certification to its cloud computing platform known as Azure. So during my studies at Microsoft Learn, I came across an interesting lab that has you use the Cloud Shell to create a virtual machine and then an extension set command to pull code from a GitHub repository and apply it to the server. So I took this concept and I made it my own with 4 separate labs that take a look at the fundamental concepts a little bit deeper. So all of the code for this is available on my GitHub website under the 25s Azure IaC repository. So the main command we're going to be using is called AZ-Create. So in the Azure CLI, there's a very powerful command set known as AZ. It's a little different from a traditional command with a dash flag for parameters. It uses these spaces, and then each time there's a space, it's actually a separate command with another set of parameters or another space to make it another command. So we're going to be focused on the AZ-VM command. And then as you can see inside the AZ-VM command, there are a number of other commands like AZ-VM availability set update, AZ-VM capture. We're going to be focused on AZ-VM create. And once you get the first 3 commands entered here, the parameter set can then be applied. It's a very rich parameter set that allows for very detailed configuration. And keep in mind, if you don't apply a value to some of these parameters, then a default value is applied. And a good example is the network security group rule parameter. Depending on if you create a Windows VM or Linux VM, it will create this network security group rule for your RDP or your SSH session. We're going to be using the none option and then configuring our own network security groups with the AZ network command. So the way this will work, I'm going to explain the code, and then we will run the code in the Cloud Shell, and then we will test the infrastructure. So we'll jump into the first lab. So nothing too fancy off the bat. I just defined 3 string variables, a resource group name, the location, and a VM name. I used the AZ group create command to create a resource group, and the AZ VM create command to create a Linux virtual machine with very minimal parameters. For example, I did not specify a VNet, so it will be given a default value of 10.0.0.0/16. After that, we use the AZ-VM extension set command to pull this code from my GitHub repository to then be applied to the Linux server, and it's going to turn it into a Linux Nginx web server. So these first parts of the shell script are installing the dependencies for Nginx, and then we download all the pictures for the website, the HTML web page, and then replace some of the HTML text with server information that can then be displayed from the web browser. And then we will use the AZ network command to create 2 network security group rules, one to open up an SSH port, but another one just to open up port 80 so that we can view the web page in a web browser. Okay, so we'll go ahead and copy the code here. paste it into the Cloud Shell. Okay, so the first thing, we get a nice message here that the resource group has been created. So we'll come in here, and here is the resource group. So there's nothing in it, but as this AZ-VM-Create command runs, all of the resources that the virtual machine needs will be created. So typically it's going to be the VNet and the network security group rules that we'll see first. Here's the VNet, the VNIC, the public IP address, and the network security group. Next we'll see the disk and the VM, and here they are. And just keep in mind, you have to pay for the public IP address, the disk, and the size of the VM. And so now we get this nice message that the virtual machine has been created, and now it is moving on to the AZ-VM extension set command. So we will get a very nice message here in the Cloud Shell when it finishes, but we can also check on its status in the Azure portal by coming into the virtual machine, going into settings and extensions and applications. So we gave this extension set the name custom script, so here it is, and its status is transitioning. We'll transition to the succeeded status, and then we'll get a message here in the Cloud Shell, and then at that time we'll know that the shell script has been applied to the server. So these extension sets, they can take anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes to apply depending on the complexity of the script. So I'm just going to pause the video while this applies. Okay, so we just got our message in the Cloud Shell, and if we hit refresh, we'll see that the provisioning has succeeded. Now we're opening up our ports. We're going to open up our port 80 and our SSH port. And we've verified that the ports are open, and then we use the curl command just to take a look at the HTML text, and we can see that the server information has been added. So now we can take the public IP address, plug it into a web browser, and then we'll get to our home page. And here you can see the computer name is Ubuntu Web 01. The OS version is 22.04 Ubuntu, and then some specifications about the CPU and then the subnet that it's on, and it also picked up its loopback address. And then you also get this great message about how you just got your Microsoft Certified Azure Fundamentals Victory Mega Man post and all of your happy moose and bunnies.